Well, well, well. Happy Saturday night, everybody, and welcome to Taking It to the Nub. I'm your host, Boston Jimmy, and tonight I have a really good guest of mine coming on, Kerr Viajante. And Kerr is the owner of Stogie Road Cigars. But you see, Stogie Road has got a history behind it. It wasn't just about producing this. Before then, it was about traveling around and really learning the culture and looking at the cigar shops that he traveled throughout the United States in. So we're going to have a good show here. We're going to kick it off. I'm going to bring in Kerr right here. Kerr, welcome.
Good evening, Jimmy. How you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me on this evening. This is it's Saturday night. Usually I'm sitting at home watching TV, probably dozing off right about now.
I wish I could say that on my Saturday nights, because every Saturday night at this time is taking no, unless I take a vacation week, which I do every now and then.
Wow. Well, I do appreciate you having me on, man. It's an honor. I mean, now I can say that I've not only been on Taking It to the Nub, but I've also won something as well. So that was part of the wheel. So I think I've covered all angles.
You did. You see the big win I put out today. So we have a every now and then the subscribers to StogiePress.com. What I do is I have a MailChimp newsletter I put out every week,
right.
And every now and then there's an Easter egg in it. And if you click the enter on the contest, if you see that in the newsletter and you click on that, you just answer a simple question I might post, and then you say, you put in your name you want to use for the wheel, and it goes in the wheel. So today, out of 750 plus people that get the newsletter, 160 or so opened it, and 10 actually clicked that button. So out of the 10, the wheel went around, and Joe from the Cigar Clowns up in New York won the prize. Now, normally I'm doing 4 or 5, cigars or something.
Yeah.
This is, he got a J.C. Newman ashtray, a CAO cup. He got a big, I didn't even count the number of cigars. I should have counted them before I boxed it up, but I was just like, here you go, because my wife says, thin the humidor out. So I thin the humidor out, and then I either buy more stuff or more stuff shows up. I'm like, go away, honey.
That's funny.
So, but thank you for supporting, and thank you for always watching the show and all of that. I appreciate having you on now.
Always, man. We go back a couple of years, and you've always been supportive of Stogie Road Cigars, and you were the first one to do my original press release and do a rating on the cigar. So, it really, for me, it's a huge honor to be here and to be able to chat with you about the new cigars and anything else you want to chat about.
Yeah. Well, let's go. Let's roll it back a little bit just to get everybody grounded. I don't spend a lot of time on it, but it was probably about 2016 or so. You started this video blog called Want. You were out there traveling around the country, going to different cigar shops, which is something that I love doing too. So we're like kindred brothers here, right? Because I love going to the shop. So tell me some of give me one of your best stories about going into a cigar shop that you've never been to before.
Best stories.
It could be funny, sad, or whatever.
Well, there's a couple. I was at a cigar shop. It was David, a cigar shop in Maryland, and was sitting there smoking a cigar and sitting across from General West, Alan West, just hanging out, smoking a cigar. But probably it was a very surreal moment for me. I was in Chicago, and I was at Iwan Reese, the oldest tobacco company in the U.S. And I was smoking a David P. Ehrlich by Mike Bellotti, which is named after the second oldest cigar shop in the country that had closed. For me, that was just a surreal moment because it was really smoking, you know, a cigar that was named after the second oldest in history and sitting in the oldest. And it was really an impressive, it was just very, you know, I really liked Diane Reese. It was, I think it was just, I was just impressed and just in awe just for the age and just, you know, the lounge area. You know, it wasn't anything really super spectacular. A gentleman was celebrating his 70th birthday with some scotch and he shared it with me and we had a great conversation for an hour. You know, but just that moment of being there and smoking that cigar at that moment was just a little like, wow, this is pretty cool.
Now, when you go into the shop, what are the things that really, if you, like, I give awards every year, the best shop I've been into that year.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You go into a shop, what is like your top things you like to see and maybe a pet peeve in a cigar shop after all you're running around in shops?
I used to do the show, right? And it was Friday night. It was Friday at 5. And I used to do cigar shop reviews. I figured everybody's doing cigar reviews. Everybody with an opinion is doing a cigar review. Everybody who has a good palate, but no one's really reviewing cigars, and nor are they posting anything to give people a heads up there. If you're in this area, here's a great cigar shop to stop by. So I always look for this. I call it the Stogie Road 3: location, selection, and staff. The location will get you there. So how convenient is it? The selection will get you to buy, you know, what do they have to offer within their shop, and staff. The staff will get you to stay and keep coming back. So, you know, for me, the staff is really, really important because you can take a shop that may be off the beaten path and they may have a limited humidor, but if you got a great staff and they treat you well and they're engaging, you want to keep going back to that place. So I would always rate the shops on the Stogie Road 3. And I just, you know, that's how I would move forward with giving people, hey, if your Stogie Road finds you in Randallstown, Maryland, you know, make sure that the Burnt Leaf Cigars, you know, is on, you know, is on your stop when you're on your Stogie Road.
Well, what would be your like number 1 or 2 pet peeves with a cigar lounge?
Pet peeve would be probably the lack of interest or the lack of interaction. It's a pet peeve of mine when you walk in and someone just sits there and is like, hey, yeah, let me know if you do anything. You know, it's you know, I've always felt, and I firmly believe that the cigar shop is in a lounge is just a great place where you can meet people, including the folks who work for the lounge. And so a pet peeve is just when someone just seems like they're so disinterested in you as a consumer, because that is their job, is not just to ring you up, but it's also to introduce you to brands in the humidor. You don't know if someone's new. You don't know if they don't, you know, someone may be a new cigar smoker. They may go in and grab an Andalusia Bull because they saw it in the Cigar Aficionado, go out, light it up, and get sick to their stomach and never want to smoke again. So I've always felt that it, you know, the tobacconists, it's their responsibility to not only, you know, take care of those folks in the humidor, but introduce them to new brands. You can have someone who may be a cigar, maybe not an aficionado, but someone who's, you know, like myself, I've been smoking for years, so I'm an enthusiast. And you can strike up a conversation. They may introduce me to a cigar I would have never thought of if I would have walked through that, you know, through that door. So that's a huge pet peeve of mine.
Yeah, I agree. I think having a tobacconist that knows what's going on, not just the person that works there and just puts the money in the register and rings up the sale, actually understands what's in the humidor. Like if I ever owned a cigar shop, every person that worked for me that's selling cigars, I would want them to smoke everything that's in my humidor so they know what they've got. Try this. This is good. I want experienced people to serve the customers and help them understand. If you come in and you like a Romeo and Juliet, and I don't have that.
Right.
Right. Well, try this. This is similar. You might like it. It fits your profile. You might, turn them on to something new.
Well, would they have to pay for the cigars? Because if they don't, when you open a cigar shop, I want to work for you. If you're mandatory to make them smoke every cigar,
they hit the lottery, I'll do that. Bones says his pet peeve is people not using headphones when on the phone.
Oh, the very loud FaceTiming.
Yeah.
One of the coolest things that's happened to me though is getting those good finds, those old cigars, the Indiana Jones of cigar lounges.
Harry's Habana Hut in New York.
Harry's Habana Hut in New York.
If you've never been to Harry's, he's got an eclectic collection of cigars. Now you walk in as
that's what I love,
and it looks like the place is not exactly the most organized humidor in the world, right? But he's got things down on the bottom, behind other boxes, and if you go in there and you ask him, he'll start digging stuff out. I mean, last year during a pandemic, when I was calling up shops to buy cigars from them to help them out, he was one of them, and I said, "Walk me through your humidor." And like he had the Caldwell butter boxes. I said, "I'll take one of those." And I mean, it was sitting 3 boxes and down on the bottom and the back.
Yeah.
Been sitting there since like 5 years ago or whatever. I'm like, send it. I'm buying it, right? So yeah, I love that. Indiana Jones cigar shops. I like that.
Up the road, Boiling Springs Cigars and Tobacco. Kartik Shaw's the owner. He's like that. He's got one of the best humidors, and he has my buddy Daryl Iverson and I went up to visit, and we started talking about his collection. He opened up his humidor, and it was amazing what we were finding in there. But I was in Greenwood, South Carolina, a very, very small town, and I typed in cigars, and it brought me to a flower shop. Right? Because I tell the story all the time because it was awesome. So I walk in, and I'm like, I see cigars in the box, and it was one of those old, row home buildings. That was an old storefront that had the big window, displays up front, like an old Pomeroy's.
Yeah.
And I walked in, and I'm like, "Do you have cigars?" And she's like, "Yes, we do." I'm like, "Okay." She goes, "Well, my husband died a year ago, and that was it's the anniversary, and that was his thing. I do flowers." She goes, "I don't know what to do. Everybody just tells me I need to get rid of my old cigars." Jimmy, when I walked in, I was like, "Oh, you gotta be kidding me." I picked the phone. I called Duncan, my buddy Duncan. I'm like, "Duncan, you're not going to believe what the hell I just found." She had the pre-Davidoff Camacho box just stacked up, still cellophanes. She's got one of the best cigars I smoked was a Romeo and Juliet Museum series from 2008, 2009. Beautiful box. I mean, the big decorative humidor with the glass cases, and she had old Cohibas. She had old Bauza. The old Balmoral, not the new old Balmoral. The original. I mean, in the box, the cardboard box. And then I saw these Opus X, and I'm like, and they just looked like they were old. And I'm like, "How long have you had these Opus X?" She's like, "Well, my husband got them. I think they're probably about 15, 20 years old." And I'm like, "Seriously?" She's like, "Yeah." So her and I just became quick friends. She got involved in building out the humidor, adding more cigars, and I started talking about her shop, on my show. And people were coming down from Greenville, like, I think those Camachos lasted about 2 weeks. I mean, it was sold out. So I walked in there. It was just one thing after another, one cigar after another. That was just it was like it wasn't touched for years. And I love finding stuff like that. I found the original Camacho Corojo, the Diplomat, in the pyramid box in a tobacco shop in North Carolina, sitting up on a shelf with about an inch of dust on it. So that's when I go into shops when I'm traveling. I love to find stuff like that.
It's a great journey, and every cigar shop has their own character, and that's what I like about it. They represent something about the owner or the owners, what they wanted to do, what they wanted to present.
Yeah.
And I was in a shop in Ohio called Third Street Cigar Lounge, and it used to be an old grocery store from 1900s, right? And it still had some of the painting on the walls that they had for advertising. But this guy bought this. He's a very wealthy investor, and he just wanted to have a cigar shop. So it's one of those guys.
Right.
You know, he doesn't really care if he made a lot of money on it or not. But he's a big music fan. And he had pictures all over the walls, downstairs and upstairs. It's in a 2-story building, right?
Right.
And different rooms to go into. And he had pictures all downstairs. All downstairs were all of these old jazz, blues artists.
Right.
Had to play in Toledo. The picture was from when they were playing in Toledo because he was right outside of Toledo. And then if you go upstairs, it was the rock and roll hall. And all the pictures as of all the different rock and roll acts that played in Toledo there with guitars hanging on the wall. And then right at the landing was this guitar. As you're going up the staircase, you go up like this, and then it goes up this way to the second floor. And at the landing of the staircase in the middle, there's a guitar and an urn and a picture of this old black blues guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't know who he is. And I asked him, he says, yeah, he was like a guy that played in town all the time. And what happened was he died, and I went to the funeral, and he had no family, right? I mean, so he went to this funeral, and there was the picture and the guitar, and it's like, what are you doing with this thing? I don't know. I say, I'll take it. I'll take all of that. And he built a memorial for this guy in his cigar shop.
Wow.
Right, to tell the whole story. I thought that was amazing.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, he's serious, into that. So, and he had great parties there with, these events where he was serving like filet mignon.
Wow.
Insane to go there.
A little bit of FU money when you're doing that.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So you go from doing your blog, traveling around and visiting lounges, and then you got into about 2 years ago, you pulled the trigger and said, you know what? I'm going to go make my own cigar.
Yeah.
You bridged over, which is something, I bridged over in 2019 when I turned 60 years old and made my Boston Jimmy cigar, but they're free. I give them away. Right?
I never got one, just to let you know.
I'm getting more in. Don't worry. There's more. Everybody says the same thing. I always get like 100 at a time. But
yeah.
But you went full in on this.
Yeah.
But all in. Talk about that experience and how you developed that, because you've been smoking cigars for a long time.
Right. When I made that transition, it was visiting all the cigar shops, and it's, when you want to take that leap, the passion, it grabs you, right? It just does. And I found myself, when I would travel, I was spending all my time in cigar lounges and hanging out and looking at what's in the cigar, the humidors, and smoking cigars. And I just really got hooked. And I knew that I wanted to do something within the cigar industry. I wanted to have a business. I wanted to have you know, a career, you know, however you want to, you know, label it. And taking that leap into cigars, I noticed that, you know, within the cigar humidors, there was not a lot of barber poles, you know, and understanding the history of barber poles, and you know, and knowing that it was such a great way of you know, not wasting any materials in a factory with barber poles. You know, if you don't have enough if you don't have enough Connecticut to roll a cigar, but if you got Connecticut Maduro, hey, let's put them together and roll them together. Understanding the history with, you know, with Fuente, with creating the barber pole, it just really caught on to me. Plus, I've always looked at that barber pole and always remind me of the winding road that I was always traveling. So I wanted to come out with a brand of cigars that were just barber poles, because I didn't think anybody else was doing it. You'd see them pop up here and there, or maybe you know, around a certain holiday, or they were special. But I wanted something a little bit more, a little bit more of a consistent presence in a humidor, because I also think the barber poles catch your eye when you walk in. You know, when you're looking across, it's going to catch your eye. Right. So that's where I came up with that, wanting to do barber poles, and you know, had some conversation with some folks, and you know, started off with the Tabacalera San Geronimo and Tabacalera Cafe, and making the cigars out of Honduras, and started off with the Edition 35, which was not the Edition 35 when it first came out, but you know, we had to make a few changes. Yeah, that's what I'm smoking right now, the Edition 35.
And this is what?
That is the Sandela, San Andreas Candela. So that's, you know, when I start off with the Edition 35, you know, I wanted to start off with something that would be appreciated and could be and be smoked by both someone who's newer to cigar smoking and someone who's experienced. You know, it had some depth transitions. I really wanted to be able to have kind of that broad spectrum cigar, if you will, and that's really how it really started off with the brand. I know that with my travels, and I've done shows at cigar shops in my travels before I came out with my cigar. I was mentioning this the other night on Kevin's show, is I would take cigars from down here in South Carolina, or boutique cigars that I was introduced to down here. And when I traveled up north, I would take them with me and introduce them to shops up north, and they would bring them in. And then I would take cigars from up north that I would find and bring them down here and introduce them to Duncan, who was working a shop. So, you know, Cordelius and Anthony was nowhere to be found down here. Blackwork Studio, nowhere to be found. You know, you couldn't find it. You know, I think the only person you probably would find it is Kardic's place, because Kardic's has everything. You know, but I had a great passion for being able to make that connection. So when I came up with my brand, a lot of shops gravitated it and brought it in, because, you know, they know I'm a genuine, honest guy. I come with a lot of credibility, and they know that when I was coming out with a cigar that, you know, I would go the extra mile.
All right. So let me take a quick break to give a shout out to the sponsors. And when we come back, we'll continue this conversation. One of the things I'm going to be curious about is the level of expertise it takes to roll one correctly and some of the challenges associated with it. Okay, so today's show is brought to you by Chan Cigars. Chan is a dream come true. Why is that not sharing? Oh, there it is. Okay. Chan is a dream come true for husband and wife Gabby Chan and Liz. They want all hands to work the tobacco leaf in their country of Puerto Rico to have the same opportunity to expose their products. They call it La Jolla del Chan because they cultivate part of their product, and at the same point, they want to be able to supply the world with their native tobacco leaf from Puerto Rico. The pride that Gabby and Liz feel is the same pride of all those who work the tobacco leaf, and for this, they deserve a portal to represent them. Thank you for supporting our country. We will resist. You can follow La Jolla del Chan at www.lajolladelchan.com and Chan Cigars on Instagram and Facebook. Today's show is also brought to you by Tarazona Cigars. Tarazona Cigars, they do it with passion. Every Tarazona premium handmade long leaf cigars are rolled to the highest quality by masterful rollers. Each hand that touches the process takes pride in the quality and the craftsmanship of every cigar that goes into every box of Tarazona. The next time you're looking for a fine smoke, do it with passion and reach for Tarazona. You can follow Tarazona Cigars on Facebook and Instagram and visit them at www.tarazonacigars.com. Lastly, today's show is brought to you by Platinum Nova. Platinum Nova Cigars is a family-owned and operated premium cigar company. Only the highest vintage tobacco and the most skilled hand workmanship go into the making of each Platinum Nova cigar, resulting in a timeless blend of art and craftsmanship. The Nova brand and the family's work are a tribute and an honor to their grandfather to always remember him and his infinite passion for the finest cigars. Their love for cigars started with their grandfather, dedicated master blender and entrepreneur in the cigar industry. So next time you're looking for an exquisite cigar experience, pick up Platinum Nova. You can check out Platinum Nova Cigars at www.novacigar.com and on Facebook and Instagram. And if you go to novacigar.com right now, you can buy their cigars at a 15% discount by using Boston Jimmy 15 as a code. Don't forget, it's Boston Jimmy with an IE. I'd like to thank my sponsors. The show is always a little bit harder to do without them. Thank you very much for their contribution. Okay. So when you get into making the barber poles, are they more difficult? Do you need specialized rollers and bunches to do this? Or is it just a process that they learn quickly?
No, it's difficult, and you got to have experience and knowledgeable rollers. It's funny. It's I talked to Jeffrey Amendola, who's a cigar roller, and I say, hey, you roll barber poles? He's like, man, that's a tough one. So you have a guy who's a roller who admits that, and working with the factories, understand that you got to have very talented rollers, because with barber poles, it's taking the leaves and being able to get that nice even spiral, right? Because after you've seen some barber poles, it's big, thin, small. I mean, it's getting that consistent, consistent.
I got breaking news.
Breaking news. What's that?
Breaking news. We have another special guest, which I think and is going to help chime in on this question.
I can only imagine.
You can only imagine. Let me introduce Chris Weber to the show. And for those that don't know Chris, I'll let Chris introduce himself briefly, but Chris owns the factory where Kerr is making his cigars. Chris.
Hello, everyone. How is it?
What's up?
Good.
Man?
How's it down there in Nicaragua?
Same old.
Okay.
After you're here a while, it's just like anywhere else, just a lot more Spanish.
All right, so you just caught in the show at the right time, because we were talking about the difficulty of rolling a barber pole, and Kerr was bringing us through that. So continue, Kerr, and Chris, you can chime in when you can to add some flavor to it.
Well, yeah,
sure,
and that was one of the things when I met Chris and talked to him. We talked about that because he specializes and understands barber poles, and that's important. It's just not something you want to kind of do willy nilly or give it a try. So, you see, barber pole to me is the two tobacco leaves rolled evenly to give you that nice swirl. It's not a Connecticut wrapper with a candela strip around it. That's not a barber pole. It's a true barber pole. So, you know, and also, I mean, you're always going to have that challenge of getting those strips lined up perfectly so it looks great. So when Chris and I were talking about it, we had great conversation just because of his knowledge, vast experience, and his factory's experience of rolling barber poles. And after probably our first hour conversation, which had nothing to do with cigars, and then our second conversation, which had everything to do with cigars, it was a no-brainer, you know, as we walk through the different blends and the next steps and working with him. And it's been outstanding.
So when you create a barber pole, and maybe I'll let Chris chime in on this, I would think that you bunch it, you bind it, you press it, and then you wrap it with the leaf, right? Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, the normal process for rolling a cigar would be, you know, the bonchero will grab all his tripa or filler. He'll get the bunch prepared. He'll start adding that into the binder that's already rolled out. Roll that up, press it, press it in the mold, I should say, and then with the vise itself. And then after 40 minutes plus, you know, grab those out, hand it off to the rollera, and then, like with any other production, you're just rolling the wrapper onto it. You guys were discussing the different methods of barber pole. We choose the method we choose because it looks a little bit more organic, a lot more authentic. I've smoked barber poles where it just had the strip wrapped around it, and if it's not done well enough, sometimes they unravel on you mid-smoke.
Yeah.
And will curl up like a little curly Q. But our way, I believe, also adds to the flavor. I mean, the wrapper accounts for, depending on who you ask, anywhere from 10 to 15, maybe 20% of the flavor. But I've noticed at least a difference in the profile of the flavor from rolling one method to the next. So that's why we stick with ours. I think it's better construction. It looks great. It smokes great. You know, I say there's no right or wrong way to roll a cigar, but this is just our way.
Burning beautifully. This is the Sandela. When you do that though, so the strip right here, the leaf is probably that long or just a little bit wider than this. As you're rolling it around the first one, and then the other one rolls around it again?
Well, it's actually simultaneous. So they overlap on one another.
Oh, so they put them together and then they...
Yeah, so one here, one maybe right here with a tad bit of overlap, and that's how it goes onto the cigar.
Is there a
rolling it the way that you were just saying? Oh my God, I think that would be not mind-numbing. Try to matching up the lines as you're constantly rolling with cigars. But
that'd be a nice exercise in patience. But Chris had sent me some videos, and I posted them on my page. You know, because I wanted to take everybody through the journey with me from the very beginning of buying the new cigar bands. You know, selecting, you know, meeting and working with a factory and going through the process of what makes a great cigar, wrapper, binder, filler, what makes a great cigar is being able to have a great blend and, you know, that construction that allows you to appreciate the blend. And when the videos came, I had people ask me questions and slowing up and stopping it because the roller was cutting the leaves. It was one leaf. They cut it once and then they separate them and just do two cigars really quick because they were overlapping them. And it just was so fast that you had to go back. And that just speaks to the talent of the individual who is rolling a cigar.
Yeah, if I was doing it myself, and I am by no means a roller, you probably wouldn't enjoy smoking anything I attempted to put together. But I mean, for me, it would be like a process of, all right, cool, I'm going to cut the Connecticut. All right, cool. Now I'm going to cut the Habana. All right, great. Let me roll this cigar. All right, go back and touch it up and do it again. It was just amazing to me to see that a process that differs so much from how I envisioned it in my mind. And I like that. That's just innovation. I mean, you know, it's work smarter, not harder. So when I started seeing them do that, I'm like, oh my gosh. And in the morning, in the beginning of the day, what they'll do when they get their first bunch of Kappa, of wrapper leaf, They'll lay them out. They'll trim them up. Some of them we can get 3 strips off of. Some of them we can get 2 strips off of. Some of them we can only get 1 strip off of. They'll line up their strips for the first run on production. It's just bam, 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 one after another. But yeah, I mean, just watching there's just something weird about it. As a child, I actually used to stare at barber poles like in wonderment. I hope there's more of it. Yeah. I know I'm an odd bird, but I'm hoping there's more like
Kevin Shahan chimed in and says, Chris, bro, you got to stop rocking in that chair. You're going to make me.
Oh my God. All right. I'll go on to the soap.
Stop. He said, stop rocking, but keep rolling.
So again, how did you, Kerr, connect up with Chris? Well, did you know his craft beforehand? Smoke it at all?
Yeah, I mean, I knew Chris's cigars. I smoked them. And I actually think at one point, Chris was supposed to be a guest on the show, and I think you had gotten sick prior. It was a while back. But Chris and I had a mutual friend reached out to me and said, hey, you know, we had a good conversation. So I reached out to Chris and like I said, Jimmy, when we first started talking, I think the first time we had spoken, it was about, you know, over an hour conversation. We realized we had a lot of commonality. We had a lot of, you know, we had the same stomping grounds in Delaware and southeastern Pennsylvania. We had overlapping friends, both in the police force.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, and there's no bad story associated with that. Actually, one of Chris's closest friends and one of my closest friends from college worked together on the K9 unit in Wilmington.
Yeah, that's right. Your friend trained my friend, and now my friend has his old job.
When my buddy retired, his friend took over his job. So we had a lot of commonality there, and it just clicked. And then when we start talking tobacco and barber pole and, you know, the vision for Stogie Road Cigars, you know, Chris got it. And even when we were working through the blends, you know, we looked at what the old blends consisted of, what tobaccos did I want to work with, and what blends and how did I want it to taste. And then Chris said, I also want to give you what I think my rendition is of that cigar. So there's a great deal of trust built very early on to take it to that level. And I think we hit, you know, 4 incredibly long drive home runs with the blends.
I think it solidified for me when a 20-minute conversation about Delaware sandwiches.
Yeah, exactly.
The old Capriati's Casapulas debate.
If you could have a 20-minute conversation about Delaware, you're like, okay, that's my soulmate, because no one talks 20 minutes about Delaware.
Nobody gives a shit about Delaware.
So let's talk about these blends. So I'm smoking what you named the Sandela.
Yeah.
All right. So talk about what is this blend that I'm smoking?
It's Sandela. Jimmy, I can't give all my secrets up, buddy. It's
give me what you can give me. There's reviews on it anyways. I'm going to go for it again.
I know. I'm just fucking with you. I mean, Sandela was originally supposed to be the sister cigar to the Gringo. When I released the Gringo, I wanted to release the Sandela at the same time and have them released it, you know, together. But you know, the pandemic hit, and the Gringo was something I really wanted to work with. So being able to kind of circle back with the Sandela, for me was pretty special. And you know, I've seen different Candela, you know, wrapper cigars with darker. I really love Sandela. San Andreas. I love Candela. So I wanted to combine those two. You know, I wanted to have it really pop with flavor, not only with some spice, but also with some earthy tones. You know, we work with some jalapa. There's obviously, you're probably going to pick up on the Ligero that's in the filler. and just wanted to make sure that that cigar was a very memorable cigar. You're going to have those earthy and peppery tones, whether it's through the jalapa and the Ligero, but that Candela is also going to kind of marble in a little bit more of that sweeter, grassier note with it as well.
Good. So the second one is the one you're smoking.
There's the Edition 35.
Let me spotlight this again. So this is the Edition 35.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of your first cigars you came out with.
Yes.
And is the blend the same as the original, or did you tweak this?
It's tweaked. It's definitely tweaked. And when you taste it and you smoke it, you're going to definitely pick up, if you go back and review notes from the original, that there is definitely something different in it, a little bit more spice. I wanted to use more of the Ligero and the filler, and have something with a little bit more character with the Habano binder. The wrapper, is the Maduro and the Connecticut, but with the Edition 35, I really, I wanted it, especially because that was my first cigar, and I wanted it to be that cigar that is going to give you some creaminess, some nuttiness, but really give you that peppery flavor, especially in the retro.
Okay. And then we come to, I believe this is the Sweetgrass Gringo, which you had created before you got together with Chris.
Yes, sir.
Again, blend tweaks or anything to this?
Definitely. Just look at the Candela on that. That freaking that the Candela that's being used at the factory is fantastic. It's green. It's vibrant. It's flavorful. And the flavors are subtle. It's not overly grassy. It's not that brownish green. And when you have a Candela like that is really some of the best Candela you can get, you're gonna get that those flavors and not have that kind of bitterness or sour notes that you may get with some of the Candela. The one thing I wanted to do with the Gringo that we were able to accomplish is I was telling Chris that I was interested with some Ometepe and some other, and even some Ligero, and make the Sweetgrass Gringo spicier, just a little bit more spice to it. I felt that the original blend had some great flavors to it, but was more creamy. And I wanted to keep that creamy, nutty flavor, but I wanted to add some more of that spicy and earthiness while maintaining those original characteristics.
Okay, and then the last one is the Big Tony.
I'm going to let Chris speak about the Big Tony because he and I talk about that, and I think that's one of his favorites right there. That's named after my dad, and I wanted something that was going to basically honor, the guy who's been a constant in my life and someone who I looked up to. So, Chris, talk about the Big Tony because I know that one's your.
Yeah, that's become I like Maduro. The interesting part to me is I've started smoking. I smoked Connecticut when I started getting into being a more rhythmic smoker, meaning smoking more and more often. Habano was where I found my flavor profile. I never thought I'd go Maduro. So as I started appreciating it more, when Kerr came and said, man, I want to do a Maduro barber pole. The lights just went off in my head. The cogs started moving, and just a lot of ideas went back and forth. Where should this be? What would do this cigar justice for you? And I know we had a couple iterations of it, but it's become my daily smoke in the factory. I'm not going to lie. Above and beyond, I mean, the only thing I smoke as much as that at this point is our upcoming release, our Cameroon wrapper, Faded. But I'm smoking, I'm through 70 Big Tonys already, in various different sizes. So I started fucking up. Sorry, I don't know if I can curse in this, but there you go. Started messing around with different sizes. I know Kerr wanted he had a project he's talking about releasing some Lanceros. So right now the Big Tony Lancero is at least 1, 2, on a good day 3. throughout the day. So it's powerful. It's got body. It's got flavor. I've yet to have any complaints on it, any issues with it. For my own palate, like if I was to rate the Stogie Roads, I go Big Tony, I go Sandela, I would go with the Sweetgrass and then the Edición, and not for one being better than the rest. It's just that's how my profile hits it. So Maduro on Maduro, I was all in, baby.
There you go.
That cigar, what's really nice about that cigar is, having something full of flavor and full bodied, that's not going to be a pepper bomb, right? I mean, because there's, when you look at cigars like that, there's so many folks out there just trying to over inundate your palate with pepper. I really wanted something that was going to be complex and flavorful and not be just relying on a heavy pepper flavor. And when Chris said, we talked about that one at length, and the blend we came up with is great. And I've had some, he sent me some Lancero samples, and that's another one that in a Lancero form with the smaller ring gauge. Whew, wow.
All it does is concentrate that flavor down.
Yeah.
I mean, Lancero is the most romantic size you can smoke because you're tasting the tobacco. I know there's those moves out there for larger ring gauges, 60 ring gauges, 70, 80, and nothing against them. But for me, if I want to taste something, Lancero is the way to go.
Absolutely.
And if I had my druthers with that blend, it would have been a lot peppery. And that's where Kerr came in and said, no, let's back this off and let's make it more about body and consistency, not consistency, but more about substance. And I think he hit the nail on the head because the cigar is amazing.
So the Vitolas that these come in, so I'm sitting here with the Toros. What other Vitolas do they come in?
That's it. I mean, when I first released my cigars, I wanted to keep it simple, stupid, right? I wanted to keep it at Toros and go from there.
You blended for the Toro.
For the Toro, yeah.
Now everything that you extend is going to try to
Toro. I mean, I think that's but I even dialed down the size on this one here when I talked to Chris, because the original Toro was a 52, 6.5 by 52. Well, this is a 6 by 50. So it's smaller ring gauge Toro. Whether that means anything or not, I'm sure that someone can have their opinion, but I wanted to keep it very simple. This is a great size where, discussions about a Robusto, maybe, that may work. But I love Toros and the Lancero. I've done the additional 35 before with Lanceros, and to be able to have the factory now produce all 4 blends and send the Lanceros, that to me is a passion project, because Lanceros are not going to be, they're not the number one seller. They're not just sought. They're sought after by it depends on, from specific people, but it is definitely a passion project. And I think it's really where you get, yeah. But I think, as Chris said, when you have great blends like these cigars and you put them in a Lancero format, you're going to say, God, why haven't I been smoking these, Lanceros before? But especially if and I always tell folks, if you've never smoked Lancero, I'm like, listen, first of all, you got to take your time with the Lancero. Can't hotbox it.
Yeah.
These are barber poles. So barber poles traditionally want to have that tendency to have that kind of ratchety, wonky burn based off of the burn ratio of the wrappers, because one may burn a little bit faster than the other. So you have to be extra patient. This Lancero will last you over an hour if you smoke it right. And it'll be the best hour and a half, hour and 15 minutes you've ever had smoking a cigar, because it'll be chock full of flavor. And the smoke output on these Lanceros are better than any other Lancero I've ever had.
All right. I'm going to take another quick break, do a quick walk through what's new and new reviews on Stogie Press. And then when we come back, I'd like to talk a little bit to Chris about his factory, let everybody kind of know what the name of his factory is and how long you've been doing this now, and what the road ahead is for both you and Chris.
Sounds good.
All right. So let's go to Stogie Press. All right. So this week in Stogie Press, we went through 3 cigars. The first one is from a company called Hooten Young. Now, if you don't know Hooten Young is a whiskey company here in Central Florida, and they also have a cigar line. Their cigars are made by Cordoba and Morales, which is a local Central Florida company, and he actually does the rolling here in the United States. These are actually U.S.-produced cigars. This cigar is a unique cigar. Now, just look at that cigar for a moment and understand something about the shape. It kind of looks at first like it's a torpedo, a fat torpedo, but if you look right where the color change is near the head of the cigar here, it's shaped like a 50 cal bullet. It's got a unique mold to mold that, make it look like a 50 cal bullet, because the Maduro is the longest, oldest gun in the U.S. arsenal, okay? So he created this. This is an Ecuadorian, Connecticut, and San Andreas wrapper. It's got a Nicaraguan binder and Nicaraguan filler. I had some fabulous notes coming through this with cocoa and cream, dark chocolate, dry fruit notes, floral, herbal. It just kept going around. It was a beautiful, beautiful journey I had on this. Just come down, look at a little bit of they come in these, and they come in 50 cal cases. So unique marketing, unique cigar. You can see a little better there how it's tapered down right in this, right at the head. The burn had a really nice burn, kept a really long ash, very nice burn cone. Pressed on through, pretty nice all the way through. I will note that it had a bitter dark chocolate note midway, and this is a bitter I like. This is, if you think like an 80% dark chocolate, that's the type of chocolate when I say that. It fires up my back of my palate, and it's just like, it's so delicious. And so we really burned a little hot and final, so he lost a couple points for that, but it had an even burn and a nice long ash on it, and finished beautifully down to the nub. The second one we looked at was the Maya Selva Kampai Robusto Maduro. This is a line extension to the Kampai Maduro line. This one we brought in a 91. This is at a wrapper from Jalapa and a binder in Estelí and a Nicaraguan filler. So this is a Nicaraguan Puro. This one also gave me some dark chocolate and dry leather notes, some natural sweetness, pepper, a syrupy aroma I was getting off it, that nice, not the maple syrup, but more of a syrupy aroma, some walnut and some woodiness. Again, very nicely constructed cigar. I love the foot of this cigar. I love the color, the variations in the color and the tobacco that's in here. You can really get a good feel for what that's given you. Matter of fact, I didn't get much notes off the barrel, but I got a sweet earthy aroma off the foot. And when I gave the cold draw, I was getting a jalapeno pepper note off of it, which was kind of shocked me a little. And then through the burn, gets a little wonky in here. Kind of had to get a touch up, kind of move through it. Overall, gave this one a 91, needed a touch up, had an off burn and a jagged burn line. But flavor-wise, spot on, absolutely scrumptious cigar. And then the last one was, this is a company that I came across at TPE this year, Casa Nicaragua Tobacco Group. I don't know if, Chris, you know them, but they have like 3 lines. This is one of them called the Paris Midnight. This is their Esplendido Vitola on this. This is a Habano Nicaragua, a Nicaraguan binder, Nicaraguan filler. Again, Nicaraguan Puro coming through here. This particular one's $12 retail, giving me caramel notes, cocoa, some dark chocolate, dry fruit, natural sweetness. It had that popcorn aroma, and I get that once in a while on a cigar. I smell that aroma coming off the foot, and it just reminds me of walking into a movie theater. I'm like, here it is. And some spice notes. This one here, I kind of went a little overboard on the review because I just like Paris. I talked a little bit about Paris in here. This is a picture I took from Paris when I was over there, the Eiffel Tower looking up. So this one's got that marbling we talked about earlier coming through here. It's got 6 different vitolas it comes in. It's got that reddish brown color to it, which is another color. I just love that color of a cigar. It's got some nice oiling going through and get some nice oil production as it's burning through. A little off burn here. Ended up needed a little touch up on this one. So overall, good cigar. I would definitely pick up a 5 of these if I saw them in a shop. Definitely had a wavy burn and had some points taken off of me, obviously on the construction, but it did get that nice oiling above the burn line. Sure, that added some bit to the flavors that were coming through. It is a medium plus in strength, so if you're somebody who's new to cigars, this one could light you up a little bit. So that was the reviews. There was one news article that came out this week, and this is the Espinosa and Cigar Dojo reunited for the Psychedelic Turtle 2. I like the GIF they gave me. So this one here is an add-on to the original Psychedelic Turtle that they came out with a few years ago. You gotta love the imagery they're throwing out there, all the psychedelic stuff. This is a Mexican San Andreas with Nicaraguan binder and a Nicaraguan filler. Many different regions in here, so there's a lot. I expect there should be a lot of flavor running through it. It's what they call a half shell press. So it's fat, it's wide, okay, and narrow. Okay, so it's kind of gives you they call it a half shell, kind of that's where they get the turtle shell from, kind of a turtle shell press they call it. This cigar is going to be $89.95 for a 10-pack bundle. And then I believe they're saying they're going to online retailer JR with 500 bundles, and then they're going to go live on August 6th with it. Okay. What's going to happen in each of these packages, there's going to be they have 500 bundles, and 10 of those bundles, there's going to be a ticket to go to Lazona Palooza this year. So if you like to go to Lazona Palooza, you pick one of these up, you have a 2% chance of winning that, okay? And you can check that out. So that was the news. And then, of course, we also put out Taking It to the Nub with Dr. Oscar Rodriguez from last week. We put out his review. It's out on YouTube channel now and archived. So if you go to this article, you can click right here and go right to the article. So that's the news and reviews on Stogie Press. Now, Chris, talk to us about your factory. So how long is the factory down in Nicaragua, and what's the name of it?
It's Tabacalera Nuevo Nica, which I'm told is incorrect Spanish, but I don't care. I like it.
What does the translation come to?
Well, you're asking the wrong person to translate Spanish.
Oh,
but for me, the new Nicaragua. So for me, where what it means to me is there's a lot of factories down here, and a lot of factories putting out amazing cigars. And this is us just trying to put our mark on it. You know, we're not trying to take over the world. We're just trying to approach it from our perspective, remaining with our unique identity that we've carried, along the way. Some of that is imagery. Some of that is blend profiles. But for us, our path is going to take us where it takes us. Where we go, we don't know. Time's going to tell, but our plan is to stay around for a while.
That'd be nice.
Yeah,
I hope so too.
It would be good because I think now I understand you've picked up some other brands along the way throughout the last year. Are you able to, if Kerr's line blows up, right? Are you able to, and these other lines, are you going to be able to have the capacity to do what you need to do?
Absolutely. Yeah, okay. Without a doubt. So what I've tried to do from last year to now is it's all about scale, intelligent scale. In the past, in my first iteration, it's like what I'm trying to do is just grow. So for me, I'm at the point where we're running this business is we don't have the biggest factory. I mean, geographically, our footprint at the factory is pretty big. I mean, it's a pretty decent sized building. All right. And in that building, we can expand. We can fit up to 24 couples. So being able to grow and fulfill, my idea is, or my plans are not to take on too many projects, either with myself or with other companies where the companies I'm currently working with would suffer in that capacity. I'd like to keep them in-house. I mean, working with Kerr, working with Dave Pushkavitz up at Leaning House. I mean, Dave was my first customer in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's near and dear to my heart. Always has been, always will be. I bleed black and gold. And with Kerr, just, oh my God, I mean, I'm not even shitting with you. When we talked about 2 sandwich shops, if you know anything about Delaware, you know the names. So it's like, it's always been the old adage, Capriati's or Casapoulas, people like that, they're good to work with. His vision is spectacular. I mean, where he can go is as far as he wants to take it. So the brands that we take on, that we work with, I don't ever want to have to shortchange them. So I'm going to grow accordingly for that. And if that means I have to eventually turn people down, not that people are beating down my door, but if it came to that, I'll be loyal to the people that gave me a chance to show them what I could do and continue to do that. So, like I said, we can fit 24 couples. We're at about 4 couples right now. What we're producing, we're selling. And that's just the main goal, is making sure that we're not making too much, not making too little. We're not cutting corners. I tell my rollers that I would rather you take more time. Maybe I'll pay you a little bit more, but just make sure that what you're making is the best that you can do. And that's what I promise, Kerr, because I'd rather focus on quality, not quantity. So for right now, quantity is not so much in my near future. It's relaunching ourselves, helping Kerr relaunch himself. Pushkavitz, who put out a cigar for the first time, making sure that that's my best effort for him. It's been going gangbusters for him. He's looking at releasing some new sizes this year, and doing the same thing for Kerr when and if he wants to. I mean, Lanceros aside, we've toyed with his blends and Solomones and Robustos and short little dog walkers. All sizes fit.
There's a great future with that. And Jimmy, to sound confident, not cocky, but it's if it blows up. I mean, I especially now with the blends and the construction and the cigars that are coming out of the factory that we have so far. When we go from when we look at the our brand from 2019 to 2020, even during the pandemic, we grew. The Stogie Road Cigars. So we ended 2020, looking back with launching a couple of new brands, and even with a pandemic, still having an upward trend with the amount of cigars that were sold. 2021, obviously starting off with a new factory, we wanted to be patient, take our time with it, and it didn't matter to me whether it was 3 months, 6 months, 7 months. I didn't care if we did our relaunch of the cigars in October. We wanted to make sure that, as Chris said, it's the best product. The construction is fantastic, and the blends are great. So, and even rebranding the boxes and redoing the artwork, and going to 20 count boxes instead of 10 count boxes, taking up less shelf space with 4 blends versus 2 blends. I'm really hopeful, especially with the feedback and the sales and the way they're moving now. Just not even been a month here, landed in South Carolina. I'm looking at 2021 finishing off strong to really set up a fantastic 2022.
Yeah. So when I was using the word if as opposed to when, the cigars themselves,
You got to bust your balls a little bit.
they tend to sell themselves, but it requires Kerr to be on the road a lot. So you planning a lot of driving around the southeast? You looking to go north, go west with this?
Well, we were in 13 states before, and you know, close to I think 25 shops. You know, so that's a good base to start with and kind of reintroduce the blends to those shops. Definitely want to hit the road and visit cigar shops. Looking at the tri-state area, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. You know, they're in my backyard. We've had a tremendous uptake locally of folks who know me, but also know the brand and know the show. And then expanding out. You know, I want to grow smart. You know, it's with the brand, and really be calculated with it, with looking at the existing accounts and the folks who have already connected with, versus opening up, you know, new shops, right? And that's really the key to the second part of 2020 is having a business plan, which is right for us and is going to, I think, you know, set the stage for 2022, looking long term. I think when you get your cigars and you get your brands, first thing you want to do is you want to start selling. You want to move. And that's great. And if you could do that, that's fantastic. But if you're doing that with and you don't have a long-term plan, all you're going to do is you're going to run through your cigars and you're going to be like, okay, now what? So with kind of hitting the reset button at the turn of the new year and understanding that 2021 is going to be, I don't want to say a rebuilding year. I think it's just a reestablishing year.
Okay.
You know, it's setting the stage for 2022. It's looking long-term and beyond with this.
Okay. Very good. Well, congratulations on the launch. Congratulations on the factory and the connection. I think you're in really good hands with Chris. What I want to do here is close the show on a fast lightning round between the two of you, which see how we manage this. Try to keep the answer short. I know you both like whiskey. What's your favorite whiskey brand, Kerr?
Whiskey. I'm going to probably screw this up because there's whiskey, bourbon, scotches, and all that wonderful stuff. I mean, I like Larceny is a good drink. And Michener's. I actually started drinking Michener's.
Okay. How about you, Chris?
I think you already know the answer. You've been to a few of my parties.
Yeah, but everybody else hasn't.
Ibiki 12. Ibiki 12.
All right.
Anything out of Suntory's distillery is my go-to. But outside of that, if you better hold me to Scotland, Glenfiddich all the way.
All right. Very good. I'm a Glenlivet versus Glenfiddich. That's my personal taste.
At least you're not Macallan.
I'll do Lagavulin number one. I'll put it that way.
Good choice.
I'm a peaty guy. I like the heavy, peaty, earthy. If you were to go anywhere in this world that you haven't been to yet, where would it be, Chris?
Tough answer, but tough question. On the top of my list right now is Italy.
Okay. How about you, Kerr?
I'd like to go to Istanbul.
Oh,
I would love to drink coffee in Istanbul, smoking a cigar overlooking the Mediterranean.
I'm on Chris's end. I've been all over this world and never been to Italy. And we were supposed to go last year during the pandemic, and that got kiboshed.
Right.
My wife and I, we're going to plan something in another couple of years, probably head over there. Maybe that's my retirement trip from my regular job. I just take some money and just run over there and hang out. What is your favorite streaming show these days, Kerr?
Besides mine? That is a tough question because there's so many great ones out there. I think the one that I got to go to is the Kevin Shahan's. I tap that
Oh, I'm not talking in cigars. I'm talking Netflix, Amazon.
Oh, that? Well, then Kevin Shahan's, I tapped that. It's not.
Okay.
Believe it or not, I just got done watching, and it's only 3 seasons long, was Mr. In Between.
I'll know that one.
Mr. In Between and Hulu was just, my buddy Daryl turned me on to it. It is awesome. Awesome. It's about an Australian hitman. A little bit of a dark comedy, but just well written, well acted, and incredible.
How about you, Chris?
Lucifer.
Lucifer. What is that about?
It's about Lucifer. So the concept of the show is like, what if the devil took a vacation from hell and he walked amongst the living, and he opens up a nightclub in LA? I mean, it's a great show. Tom Ellis does an amazing job in the role. It was on it. It's not quite solely a streaming show. It was on broadcast television and then canceled, and Netflix did pick it up and revive it for, I think, 2 or 3 more seasons. But it's a phenomenal show, very well written, very well acted, and storyline makes sense to me.
Yeah, I've just picked up, we actually just started last night. My wife was watching and I tuned in on the second episode, a show called Manifest. And
They just canceled that, didn't they?
They might have, but it's annoying when I'm watching. It's a show where there's about an airplane that kind of went through a field and it disappeared for 5 years. Everybody thought it crashed and disappeared and everybody's dead. And then the plane lands in New York airport 5 years later.
I saw a few episodes of that.
And the difference is that
I got confused.
all the people on the plane haven't aged at all. It was like a 3-hour flight or whatever, a 5-hour flight they were coming in from. They haven't aged, but everybody around them aged. So all the different nuances of what happens, like one guy's girlfriend is now married to his girlfriend's best friend, and it's just like there's all kinds of stuff, and everybody has powers that they got, different things that they can do and see and stuff. So I'll see how it goes. I'll see why they canceled it. I don't know. We'll have to check it out.
I heard it's a good show though. I haven't watched it. Jennifer and I are always looking for good shows.
Absolutely. Last question. Everybody gets this question. Those that are watching know what's coming up. Okay. We'll start with Kerr.
What's that?
Skirts or pantsuits?
For me personally?
No, there's no context in this. Skirts.
I know. Skirts.
Skirts. How about you, Chris?
I don't know, man. Some women can pull off a pantsuit. So
go with your gut.
I mean, I'm gonna go pantsuit.
There you go.
There's just something sexy about seeing a professional woman.
Chris is on my page. You're in a minority without a doubt, but I always say a woman that can rock a pantsuit can certainly rock a skirt. But I don't think the other way around. Always. So very good. All right. So that's the show. Kerr, thank you very much for joining. Chris, welcome. Surprised to have you come in and give us a little update on the factory and how things are going down in Nicaragua. You guys still got a COVID issue down there?
Yeah, if you ask people down here, it's 50-50. Either never existed or it's the end of the world. So from my personal experience and just witnessing this, I mean, Mensa's coming in routinely and like doing routine checks, checking for it. We had 2 employees with a scare, but everything keeps rocking and rolling down here. We haven't skipped a beat. I mean, the interesting part about Nicaragua is, for the most part, with the only thing that kind of shut the country down from what I could see was the inability to service flights to and from here. But anybody that was here, it was just business as usual.
Very good. That's good to know for the industry. Kerr, I forgot to ask you, are your cigars sold through anything like Luxury Cigar Club, Privada Cigar Club, any of those?
No, not yet. Right now, we have them on our website, the VSRcigarfam.com. We're selling sampler packs right now. I've had that store open online longer than I've actually sold cigars. You know, it was originally developed to introduce folks who watch the show to boutique cigars, and to promote boutique cigars. And we've had a number of folks on the show and offer them on the website, and they kind of rotate through. We've actually done, before the pandemic hit, I think it was about 3 years ago, we did one of our first virtual cigar events with a boutique cigar brand. So, you know, vsrcigarfan.com, you can pick up some sampler packs there, and, you know, more to come on the on some of the cigar club memberships. I know we've been our cigars have been in Stogie Bird in the past, and I'm looking forward to, you know, conversations of what the future looks like with you know, Pravada, Stogie Bird, and some of the other groups.
All right. Well, we look forward to the news on that. And if you're looking for cigars, you know where to go if you want to check out the craft of Viajante Stogie Road Cigars.
Well, I appreciate you having us here, Jimmy.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody for watching, and thank the sponsors that sponsor the show and also sponsor Stogie Press. Don't forget, you can always go and hit that button for subscribe. It could be in a huge giveaway that I do once in a while. If you saw the show earlier this afternoon, you saw what somebody won. Joe from the Cigar Clowns won it this time. Every few months I come out and start thinning the humidor out with things, so check it out. I'll give the last word to Kerr and Chris.
Chris, go ahead, man.
Well, everybody's got to check out the stuff that's coming out of our factory. You know, you might like it, you might not, but give it a shot. But please, by all means, you'd be doing yourself a disservice if you weren't looking at least the stuff that we're producing for the people that we're working with. Stogie Road's blends, I like them. They've overtaken some of my favorites in some capacities. Push Gavitz's lines with Leaning House and what he's coming out with. I can't say enough good things. I mean, there's a retailer that decided to go into manufacturing as a brand owner years later. Obviously, with us, we got a couple things coming up that will be announced in the near future. Yeah, I'm just happy to be a part of this industry for as long as the industry allows me to be a part of it.
Oh, how about you, Kerr?
First of all, thanks, Jimmy, for having me on tonight, you know, talking about our cigars. I just wanted to show you a little bit of our new artwork for the boxes for the Dish 35. I know you being you know, guitar player and musician lover, I really wanted to go to this kind of 60s, 70s throwback concert poster look. And, you know, I think that the folks, yeah, I mean, every blend looks like this. The names in there, the different colors. It stands out, it pops. You know, still have in honor of my grandfather and the family on the back with the Vista. And we're in, and this is something Chris added to the box I thought was fantastic to the front. And then we have our 20 count boxes. You know, I'm really happy with everything all around. More importantly, with the cigars that are coming out of Tabacalera Nuevo Nica, and the work that the folks at the factory and Chris has been done. He's been a great partner. And I can't wait to keep producing different blends and projects and Vitolas. So thanks for having us on. Thanks for you know, shedding a little bit of light on some of the changes that have occurred over the last several months with Stogie Road Cigars. I think we're poised in position for great things in a better place today than we were several months ago.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you for watching the show. And we'll catch you next week. And I'll announce that guest early in the week.